Welcome everyone. This is Jayalakshmi from Second Defense. In this video, we'll look into India and Nepal border issue. Before knowing that, we should know what is the Treaty of Sogoli, why Kalapani is bone of contention between India and Nepal, where is Kalapani, what is the dispute, how the two sides back their claims, and what is the politics behind the Kalapani, and finally, we'll look into what are the actions taken by the government.
Now we will look into what is the Treaty of Sogoli is about. After the Anglo-Nepal War, a treaty of peace and friendship was signed between the government of Nepal and East India Company. It was known as Treaty of Sogoli 1815. It was agreed on 2nd December 1815 by Garij Mishra and Chandrasekhar Upadhyaya on behalf of the government of Nepal and Lieutenant Colonel P. Bhadrashah on behalf of the East India Company. The signed copies of the treaties were exchanged on 4th March 1816 at Machwanpur by Chandrasekhar Upadhyaya. The terms of the treaties were as follows, and they are: Article 1. Peace and friendship between Nepal and East India Company. The King of Nepal will renounce all claim to the lands which were subject of discussion between the two states before the war and will acknowledge the right of the company to the sovereignty of those lands. Now, Article 3. The King of Nepal will cede to the East India Company in perpetuity all the under-mentioned territories. First, the whole of the lowland between River Kali and Rapti. Second, the whole of the lowland between Rapti and Gandaki, except the footwall. Third, the whole of the lowland between Gandaki and Koshi, in which authority of East India Company has been established. Fourth, whole of the lowland between River Michi and Tista. Fifth, the whole of the lowland towards east of River Michi. For such territories will be evacuated by Gurkha troops within 40 days. Now, Article 4. With a view to indemnify the chief and father of Nepal, whose interest will suffer the alienation of the lands ceded by the foregoing article, but East India Company agrees to settle pensions to the aggregate and of 2 lakh rupees per annum to such chiefs as will be decided by King of Nepal.
Let's see Article 5. The King of Nepal renounces for himself in heights and successors all claim to the countries like to the west of River Kali and engage never to have any concern with those countries or the inhabitants. Article 6. The King of Nepal, the King of Sikkim, in the possession of his territories. If any differences shall arise between Nepal and Sikkim, it shall be referred to the arbitration of the East India Company given in the treaty. Now let's see Article 7. The King of Nepal hereby engages Nawatuti who retain in his service any British subject or the subject of any European or American state without the consent of the British government. Here is Article 8. In order to assure and improve the relations of amity and peace, hereby established between Nepal and Britain, is agreed that it related ministers from each shall reside court of the other. Now, Article 9. This treaty shall be ratified by the King of Nepal with 15 days of the state, and ratification shall be delivered to Lieutenant Colonel Bhadrashah, who engages to obtain and deliver the King the ratification of Governor General within 20 days or sooner if practicable. In fact, this Treaty of Sogoli was in favor of the East India Company. Nepal had to suffer a heavy loss of her territory. Nepalese were so much dissatisfied, so an agreement was made in 8 December 1816 to which Nepal got the lowland of Terai. Number 1. The whole of the lowland between River Rapti and Gandaki. Number 2. The whole of the lowland between Gandaki and Kosi. Therefore, the indemnity of 2 lakh rupees ceased to continue. A land survey was also proposed to fix the boundary between two states. Only after that, the Nepal map looked somewhat like this. Later, the remaining part of Terai, Banke, Batia, Kailala, Kanchanpur were annexed to Nepal at the time of Junga Bajata Rana. After helping the British to demolish the revolt of 1857 in India, finally the present Nepal was built up. It is crystal clear that Nepal had to bear a huge loss of one-third of its land which it previously possessed. It was a big price to pay, but nevertheless Nepal remained uncolonized by the British. We have seen what is the Treaty of Sugoi. Now let's look into why Kalapani is a bone of contention between India and Nepal. Both India and Nepal claim Kalapani as integral part of the territory. India claimed it as a part of Uttarankhand's Pithoragarh district, and Nepal claimed it as a part of Darchura district, which is in Susurbancham. So many times I have been mentioning Kalapani. Where is this Kalapani? Kalapani is a 35 square kilometer area which is claimed by both India and Nepal. River Mahakali, earlier known as River Kali, flows through Kalapani, which is on the eastern bank of the river. Kalapani is also a tri-junction point where India, Nepal and China border meet. This region has been manned by Indo-Tibetan Border Force since 1962. Actually, what is the dispute? The source of River Mahakali is the heart of the dispute between two countries. The 1816 Treaty of Sugoi, signed between British India and Nepal, defined River Mahakali as the western border of Nepal. River Mahakali has several tributaries, all of which merge at Kalapani. India claims that river begins in Kalapani as this is where all its tributaries merge, but Nepal claims that it begins from Lipu Lake Pass, the origin of most of its tributary. Nepal has laid down to all areas east of the Lipu Ghat, the rivulet that the river joins on its border, a tri-junction with India and China. Lipu Ghat is one of the major tributaries that merge into the main river at Kalapani. The Nepalese contention is that the Lipu Ghat is in fact the river Mahakali up to its source to the east of the Lipu Lake Pass. The Indian contends that river Mahakali begins where Lipu Ghat meets the Kalapani Springs. How have the two sides backed their claims? In its effort to back its territorial claims, India has presented administrative and tax records dating back to 1830s. According to New Delhi, these records show that since then Kalapani was a part of Pithoragarh district. India has also shown surveys of the upper reaches of River Mahakali conducted by British Indian government during the 1870s. They presented a map from 1879 which showed Kalapani as a part of British Indian territory. Nepal has presented similar map from 1850 to 1856 showing that River Mahakali is a part of Kalapani. And finally, the politics of Kalapani. While the origin of the dispute goes back to the early 19th century, politically it emerged as a contentious between India and Nepal after the two countries signed the Treaty of Mahakali in 1996. This is when this Nepalese government was forced to take up the issue given by the pressure from rising Nepalese nationalism, according to Leo Rose. The two countries had formed the Joint Technical Border Committee in 1981 to resolve the dispute. Though the committee managed to resolve a large part of the dispute, they failed to reach a final settlement. Eventually, the issue was referred to the foreign secretaries of two countries and they have been trying to find a resolution to the dispute. Thank you.